The story starts with an astronaut named John who crashes on a strange alien planet. He quickly realizes that this planet is far from normal. Its shape is unusual, and time moves in a weird way, both forward and backward at the same time. John wonders if he can ever make it back to Earth with time behaving so strangely. John's ship has just crash-landed, and he's struggling to find his way. He notices something really odd. Time is passing extremely fast, making him age rapidly, which his body can't handle. As he explores, he spots his pet dog, Mac, who also came with him on the spaceship. Worried about the effects of time, John quickly grabs Mac and uses his jetpack to fly to a different part of the planet where the force field isn't as strong. To understand how John got into this situation, we go back a bit. John was traveling alone in his spaceship to another human colony. It's the year 2080 on Earth, and humans have advanced a lot. They've built spaceships that can take them to other galaxies, and now they're exploring different planets. Their goal is to find planets where humans can live comfortably. Among the many spaceships sent out to explore, one of them was flown by John. He was piloting carelessly, drinking too much while in control. Back on Earth, his mother kept sending messages, begging him to stop drinking, telling him that it wouldn't take away his pain. John's fiancée, Emma, had died in an accident, and after that, John's mental state took a turn for the worse. He started drinking heavily to cope with his grief. One day, his drinking caused him to lose control of the ship, and he accidentally crashed on an alien planet. This planet had breathable oxygen, but there was something strange about it, a force field that made time and gravity act in weird ways. Now, in the present, John and his dog, Mac, have moved to a different area of the same planet where the force field isn't as strong and the weather is completely different. It's extremely cold here. John immediately tries to contact his base for help, hoping they can send a rescue ship, but his communication device was damaged during the crash, so he can't reach anyone. Desperate, John starts recording everything he can about the planet, hoping to find a way to escape. He knows he needs to fix his ship and leave as soon as possible because the force field at the crash site is making time speed up quickly, which could be dangerous for him. John and Max spend the whole day walking around, exploring, but they don't see any other creatures on the planet. They are completely alone. Exhausted and worn out, John finally decides to rest for the night in a sheltered spot. Even now, he can't stop thinking about Emma. He pulls out a small bottle of alcohol from his pocket and starts drinking, looking at a picture of Emma. He remembers the good times they had on Earth and how happy they were together. Emma had given Mac to John as a gift, which is why he keeps Mac with him everywhere he goes. Before all this, John got an offer from NASA to explore other planets. Emma, his fiancée, didn't want him to leave, but John chose to go. Now, in the present, John is stuck on an alien planet all by himself. With no one else to talk to, he starts talking to his dog, Mac, explaining how strange this planet is. Unlike normal planets, which are round with consistent gravity, this planet is oval-shaped. Because of its shape, gravity changes from place to place. Some areas have very strong gravity, while others have very weak gravity. This makes time behave in odd ways, too. The weather is just as unpredictable. It's extremely hot in some places and freezing cold in others. Despite having oxygen, the planet's harsh conditions have prevented any life from thriving here. John still doesn't know exactly how time works on this planet because none of his devices are functioning. He knows he needs to figure this out as soon as possible. The next morning, John wakes up, finishes the last of his alcohol, and sets out with Mac to learn more about the planet. While carefully watching Mac, John notices that Mac's fur had turned gray when they were near the force field where they first crashed. This means time was speeding up there, causing Mac to age rapidly. Since dogs have a shorter lifespan than humans, going back into that force field could be dangerous, even deadly, for Mac. John also realizes that his own age has increased by several years, so they both need to leave this place quickly. Determined to find a way off the planet, John starts searching for an energy source to power his ship and escape. He wants to report back to NASA about this strange planet. As John and Mac trek across the vast, barren landscape, they eventually come across a river. John checks the water and finds it's much cleaner than any water on Earth, mainly because there are no creatures here to pollute it. Grateful for the find, both John and Mac take a bath in the river, refreshing themselves. They also collect some water to drink later and continue their journey, hoping to find a way to power up their ship and escape this desolate place. Later, while John was taking a bathroom break, he noticed something strange. His urine was moving at the same speed as the planet's rotation, which caught him off guard. But the real surprise was yet to come. As John continued exploring, he stumbled upon a waterfall. He decided to rest there for a bit, but after a while, he saw the water starting to flow backward, as if time itself was reversing. John was shocked. He had accidentally discovered a planet with physics unlike anything humans had ever seen. Unfortunately, he had no way to share this discovery with anyone at the moment. The whole day passed as John kept searching for an energy source to power his ship. Sitting alone, he thought back to the past when he accepted NASA's offer, even though Emma didn't want him to go. The mission was a 3-year space journey that paid well, and John wanted a stable future so he could marry Emma. But shortly after leaving Earth, he got the devastating news that Emma had died in an accident. John was heartbroken. Not only did he lose her, but he also couldn't be there for her final moments. Overwhelmed by grief, John started drinking heavily, and eventually, his drinking led to the crash on this alien planet. After spending another night on the planet, John set out again with Mac, still in search of an energy source. After walking for a long time, they finally found some strange-looking fruits. John quickly checked them and discovered they contained a lot of energy. He realized that if he could gather enough of these fruits, he might be able to use their energy to launch his ship. However, he would need to figure out how to extract the energy from the fruits using his equipment. For the next several days, John focused on researching how to harness the fruit's energy, using his jetpack to test different methods. Eventually, he figured out a way, but he would need a large quantity of fruits to power his ship. Determined, John climbed a tree and started picking as many fruits as he could. He didn't notice that one of his ropes was getting frayed, but luckily, he made it down safely with all the fruits he collected. With the fruits in hand, John began attaching copper wires to each one, trying to channel their energy into his ship. With everything ready, John returns to the crash site where his ship is located. However, there's a big problem. The ship is inside the force field where time moves much faster. If his dog, Mac, goes in there again, he could quickly age and die. To keep Mac safe, John ties him to a stone far away and heads toward the ship alone, carrying all the supplies he needs. As soon as John steps into the force field, time speeds up again, and something happens that he didn't expect. The rapid passage of time causes all the fruits he had gathered to rot before he even reaches the ship. Seeing this, John is at a loss and panics. Despite the time distortion, he rushes to the ship and starts pulling out other items he needs to make sure the fruits don't get ruined next time. Meanwhile, Mac manages to free himself from the stone and begins running towards John. John notices Mac running into the force field and tries to shout for him to stop, but the force field blocks his voice, and Mac continues forward. Mac has already entered the force field, and John fears the worst. Desperate, John quickly grabs the necessary items from the ship, then scoops up Mac and sprints back out of the force field as fast as he can. His heart is racing, and he's overwhelmed with emotion. Mac is the only companion he has on this strange, lonely planet, and losing him would be unbearable. John knew that Mac was trying to save him when he ran into the force field. That night, John recorded everything that had happened, realizing his mistake. He hadn't calculated how quickly the fruits would rot inside the force field. His plan failed because he didn't account for the fast passage of time. Determined to try again, John sets out the next morning with Mac to gather more fruits. Climbing the trees with the same frayed rope, John starts picking the fruits, but the rope finally snaps and he falls onto sharp wooden sticks, injuring himself badly. Blood flows from his wounds and John is in pain and frustration. By now, John is angry and frustrated. Despite all his efforts, he's still stuck on this planet, and Mac's age has increased even more after going into the force field a second time. Overwhelmed, John lashes out at Mac in anger, even hitting him. Frightened, Mac runs away. John regrets his actions immediately but starts working again, picking the fruits on his own by throwing stones to knock them down. Once he gathers enough, John connects them to copper wires, trying to stay focused on his plan. However, John feels guilty for what he did to Mac. He starts searching for him, but Mac is nowhere to be found. Because the planet's environment is so strange, even sounds are distorted, and John's voice doesn't reach Mac properly. Mac, hearing John's calls faintly, starts heading towards the ship. By evening, John is exhausted from searching and begins to fear that he's lost Mac forever, just like he lost Emma. His guilt weighs heavily on him, and he feels deep sadness. That night, John dreams of Emma, who tells him he failed to save her, and now he has lost the gift she gave him, Mac. When he wakes up in the morning, John is filled with anger and despair. Feeling like he has nothing left to live for, he decides to head to the ship, desperate for more alcohol. Without thinking, John recklessly enters the force field to get a bottle from the ship. Ignoring the danger, he starts drinking heavily, stumbling around carelessly. As John moves, he slips and falls down a hill, crashing into rocks. In this area, time moves rapidly, causing him to age quickly. With each passing moment, John's age increases at an alarming rate, making it impossible for him to survive. As John lay on the ground, aging rapidly, he felt someone pulling his leg. It was Mac, his loyal dog, who had managed to drag him out of the force field. When John woke up, he realized that Mac had saved him, but in doing so, Mac had aged rapidly and died in the process. John was devastated. Mac was his only companion after Emma's death. Overwhelmed with grief and guilt, John even thought about ending his own life. Then, John remembered how time worked differently on the planet, like how it moved faster near the crash site. He also recalled seeing a spot where time seemed to move backward, which gave him an idea. John realized that if he could take Mac to the place where time reversed, he might be able to bring him back to life. With renewed hope, John ran back to the forest, where he had collected energy-rich fruits the day before. He quickly gathered more fruits, picked up Mac's body, and rushed back to his ship. Using the fruit's energy, he struggled to get the ship working, but after a lot of effort, it finally started up. John quickly flew the ship to the waterfall where time moved in reverse. As he reached the spot, he watched in relief as Mac's body began to move, reversing the effects of time. Tears of joy filled John's eyes as he realized Mac was coming back to life. 15 years later, John has returned to Earth. He now drinks only the water he brought from the waterfall, which slows down his aging. Mac, who was revived by the time reversal, is still with him, alive and well. John and Mac have survived the strange planet and its challenges, and now they live peacefully on Earth, where their story ends. Thanks for tuning in, guys.